Today I'm going to be showing you how to work up a hat with a basket weave pattern. The name of the pattern is 30 Rock and it can be found on the Knots of Love website. I'll put a pattern in the description. So what we're going to be doing is we're working in the round, and we're going to start at the bottom. So we'll be making our rib first, and then we move up and we make our basket weave. And the basket weave is just alternating between knitting 5 and purling 5 for 5 rows, and then you do the opposite. Okay, and it gives you this nice checked pattern. The top we're going to decrease, so you can see we get up to a point where then we're just making stockinette ribs. Okay, and that is our hat. So I'm going to show you a different cast on that gives you a little bit more of a stretchy cast on, a little bit more than the long tail cast on. It's a good cast on if you're making socks or hats, something that really needs to be stretched, and it is called the German twisted cast on. So for this hat we have to cast on 80 stitches. I've already cast out on 60 so that I can show you how to do them. So you're going to work the same way as we do a long tail cast on. Okay, we're going to put the tail over our thumb, the working yarn over our index finger, and we make a slingshot. Now normal long tail cast on, you would go up under this strand, over the index strand, and then back down through this loop. Okay, we're going to do something slightly different. What we're going to do is we're going to go under both strands on the thumb, and then we're going to come back and trace our thumb down so we go into this little loop under the thumb. Okay, now we're going to go around to pick up that index finger strand, and then you'll see that there's a little bit of a triangle right over here. That is where the needle tip is going to come through. So it's going to go through that little triangle. And then we take our thumb out, and we've just done one. So again, go under both, go back down into the thumb, come around, go over the index finger, and then through that little loop. Okay, if you kind of make the thumb go up, you'll see it almost comes out of that loop naturally. Okay, so again, and we're not pulling it too tight. Okay, so we go under both, back down the thumb, over the index strand, and then we come back through that little triangle. That's where the tip goes through that little triangle. And we're just going to keep doing that until we get up to 20 more. You're going to do a full 80. I'm just doing 20 more. So I believe that was 5, 6. So around both, in, over, through the little loop. And my thumb kind of does all the work, because it goes this way, and then when it pulls back, it kind of just slides off itself. Got 2 more to do. Okay. Now it is important that you have 80 stitches, so you can go back and each of these little loops that is on will count as 1 stitch. Now once you have casted on your 80 stitches, we need to join our 2 ends together so that way we can go in a circle. So the first thing I would recommend doing is kind of spread out your stitches on both needles. Now the second and most important thing that we have to do is we have to make sure that we do not twist this loop. So what I like to do is I make sure all the little bumps, the part that is protruding from the needle, they're all facing the same way. Okay, so I'm going to put them all up, and you can see here they twisted a little bit, and here's a twist. So we have to untwist it. Okay, untwist it, and you just kind of stretching them out to make sure that they are all, and here it's twisted again, so we have to move those over. And then once we get everything so that it's the same, I like to go through one more time before I'm going to join it and just make sure that they are all going the same way, because you cannot undo this. Okay, it's not something that you can fix once you've joined. The only way you can fix it after you join is you have to rip the entire project out and join it again. So I've got all my little bumps going the right way, and as an added measure, for the first stitch only, what I like to do is I hold the tail and the working yarn together. So it's going to be rows 1 to 12. We're going to knit 3 and purl 1. So I'm going to start where we go in with both. We're going to wrap around, bring it through. Oh, before we do that, actually, we have to put on our stitch marker. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and grab a stitch marker. This marks the beginning of the round. Okay, and you're going to put the stitch marker on the the right hand needle. Okay, so now we're going to go in, we wrap around like normal, bring it through, and it comes off. You can give it a little bit of a tug if you want, and then we are going to drop the tail and we're going to continue knitting. Okay, so we do one more for 3, and then we purl 1. Okay, and you're going to do that all the way across until you get to the end. I have worked up a mini version, so that way I can show you what we're going to do and it doesn't take me forever to do a round. So for this version, I've just cast it on 20 stitches, and you can see that I've put them on double point needles. That is only because they're so tiny they would not fit on a circular needle. So I have done rows 1 through 12, and when the fabric is resting, the same way with this one, you don't really see the rib, okay, until you stretch it. And then you can see in here that little purl one makes a stretchy rib. You can also see it from the back side of the hat, okay. So row 13, it says that you're going to increase 20 stitches evenly around. We started out with 80 stitches. Now we're going to get to 100 stitches. And basically it's every 4th stitch, I believe, that you are going to increase. Okay, my math is terrible, but I think it's every 4th stitch. So the way that we're going to do that, and in case you forget to put your stitch marker in and you don't know where the beginning of your row is, you look for where your tail is, and if you follow your tail up, that's where your row is going to begin. So you can always put your marker in after. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to knit. Actually, I'm going to start off with, and this round is just going to be all knitting. So I'm going to start off with a knit front back to increase. So we go in like normal, but we do not take it off our needles. Okay, we're going to swing around to the back, go back into the same stitch through the back loop, wrap the yarn around and take it off, and we've increased 1. And now I'm going to knit the next 3 stitches. Okay, and your purls, you're now knitting them. So now I'm going to increase again. So I knit in the front, and then I swoop around, and I'm going to go into this back loop, wrap my yarn around again, and then bring it through. And then I'm going to knit the next 3 stitches. 2 and 3. Okay, and then you're going to keep going. I'm switching needles because I'm on double points. And again, we go in, we wrap the yarn around, bring it through, swoop around to the back, go back in, and then we continue knitting 3 Okay, we're going to increase again in the front, increase in the back, and then 1, 2, and 3. I've got one more to do to complete this row. So again, I'm going to increase. Now, if you should forget and you go 5 stitches and then you increase. As long as you end up with the number 100 stitches, and as long as you're not putting an increase, you want to space them out evenly. I would say you could probably skip 2 stitches and do an increase. You're not really going to notice where the increases are. They just want you to be even, so that way it's an even circle. So then we go on to the body of the hat. And for rows 14 to 18, so we've got row 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 5 rows. We're going to do knit 5, purl 5. And that is super easy. You guys should know how to do your knits and purls. So we're just going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then we purl 5. Okay, then we go ahead, we're going to switch needles. You'll keep just going. We purled, so now we're going to knit again, and we're knitting 5, and then we're going to purl 5, okay. Now 20 stitches was not enough to get me another 10. So we're just going to pretend that these are the right number of stitches. You have the right number. So I'm just going to knit 5 again. Okay, and then you would go on to purl your next 5. Okay, so that's the end of my little imitation round. And if we look at our stitches, you're starting to tell the difference between a knit stitch and a purl stitch. So you can see the knit stitches are flat, right? From the needle to the fabric, it's flat. And then you look at the purl stitches and they have these little bumps, okay? So what you'll be doing is for the next 4 more rounds, you're going to knit 5 and then you're going to purl 5. And then rows 19 to 23, you're going to purl, so you'll start purl 5 and then you'll knit 5. So that gives you these little checkerboards. Okay, you can see this is the knit, this is the purl, then it goes back to knit, and then it goes back to purl. So you are going to keep doing that until you're going to work rows 14 to 23 until you get to 6 inches from the bottom of the brim. And what they want you to measure is from here at the bottom all the way up. So for me, I did the patterns 3 times, actually 2 times. No, it was 3 and then we did it. So I did 1, 2, and then 3, and then I started my decrease rows. Okay. And then in the next video, I'm going to go ahead and show you how to decrease for the crown.